Zando Penguin Audio presents Separate Rooms by Pier Vittorio Tondelli. Translated by Simon Pleasance, with a foreword by Andre Asiman. Narrated by Andrew Wincott.
Introduction by Andre Asiman. Soon after leaving Cambridge in my very early 30s, I realized how much I missed the friends I'd left behind there. Once I was settled in New York, I began writing to each one. Those were the days before email existed, so all I had outside of costly long-distance phone calls was writing letters. Long, fastidiously elaborate letters, where I related incidents and feelings that in normal day-to-day conversations I might have been reluctant to share. On paper, though, I found myself opening up with unsparing abandon, shamelessly writing how much their friendship had meant to me, and how I missed our walks at night, when we'd put aside our books to roam from bar to bar. To others, I wrote how I missed Sunday afternoons, that could so easily morph into evenings, as we drank wines of choice vintage before realizing that dinner would never materialize unless someone started to cook something. I loved these friends who never left Cambridge, and kept summoning me back to a rhythm of life that seemed far more amenable than New York's rugged wake-up call. My letters to them were effusive. I missed them. That was undeniable. But there were moments when, after signing my name and licking the envelope, a doubt would surge and make me wonder whether I'd been entirely sincere with them. Was I as homesick for Cambridge as I claimed to be? Were my yearnings the result of having moved to a city where I didn't know a soul? Or, as I grew to suspect, did the act of writing and telling them how much I missed our bars and their gardens make me more nostalgic than I really was? In other words, did reminiscing cast a luminous aura that existed less in reality than in the limelight, cadenced sentences I put to paper? Language is always rhetorical, even when it doesn't mean to be. It is perhaps because of this, and after reading Mattia Mossali's doctoral dissertation, devoted in good part to the novel, that I instantly responded to Pier Vittorio Tondelli's Separate Rooms. The story is about a visceral and indomitable attraction between two men. Leo is an Italian writer and 32 years old. Thomas, a pianist, is German and significantly younger, that soon enough morphs into a very powerful love. But one sentence in particular stood out and told me that I was in the hands not of an occasional writer, but of one who had fathomed both himself and his true, complex, frequently unsortable emotions. His capacity to probe and articulate these contradictory strains arrested me and presaged a writer never pleased with easy answers. In that momentous sentence, Thomas knows he is Leo's lifelong partner, but he feels stuck on the margins of their relationship each time Leo disappears, or needs to travel on a journalistic assignment, or retreats into his brooding, solitary life. "You want to keep me at a safe distance so you can write to me," he says. "If I lived with you, you wouldn't be able to think of me like a character in your stage production." This was indeed the case with my friends in Cambridge. I needed them at a safe distance to convey my love for them. Nearby, speech would have served the purpose easily enough, but writing involved something far more complicated. Writing feeds on distance, but it could just as easily breed that distance. Writing, as I was finding out, is never about the obvious. It needs to excavate the obvious and give it new words. Which is why Leo needs his privacy, his solitude, his space. Leo loves Thomas, but he cannot live with him. In Leo's own words, theirs is a relationship that involved belonging to each other but not possessing each other. This, in effect, spells the reason for the novel's title, Separate Rooms. This is not how Leo and Thomas's relationship begins. It starts quite quickly, when after running into Thomas at a party in Paris, and getting to know him slightly better at another party also set in Paris, the two grow aware of their instant attraction, what with their disguised, nonchalant contact, their light skimming touches and silent glances. They haven't spoken a word to each other, but they already know. The two agree to meet at a rock concert. At first Leo has difficulty spotting Thomas in the crowd, but eventually he finds him, and their connection is instantaneous. Their love, as Tondelli notes, is simply epic. They travel a great deal together, and Leo is constantly flying around the globe, but he always returns to seek out Thomas, and Thomas is always ready to welcome him. All Leo needs, to use my word again, is space. The point can't be made clearer when immediately after leaving by train one day, a bereft Thomas suddenly materializes and buzzes downstairs at Leo's building. "I want to stay here and live with you," he says, once Leo lets him in. To this, Leo replies, "So you've decided to live in Italy?" Thomas did not come to live in Italy. He came to live with Leo, and Leo knows it. Eventually the two quarrel, as they frequently have in the past. But as Tondelli writes, they always ended up getting back together again. Thomas leaves Leo's apartment. On the landing, as he waits for the elevator to arrive, he hears Leo shut and bolt the door behind him. One might expect this to be a clean break, but it is not. Their love is limitless, though love, even when perfect, remains a dysfunctional bargain. The problem with them is not only that Leo wants them to have their proverbial separate rooms, where Leo can go on being a separate lover and dream his love and not get stuck in everyday life. The problem is that if they lived together, they would become caricatures of each other, like two obscene, face-lifted twins in a Berlin cabaret. What Leo can't grapple with, and here it's important to keep in mind that the novel was published in 1989 and therefore written in the late 80s, is that there existed a highly undefined template for a gay life. Leo had no models to follow, no experience to recycle and fall back on in this stage of their relationship. He knew that the love he still felt for Thomas would not be enough on its own. They would tear each other to pieces, and that was the last thing he wanted. Living together meant believing in values that neither of them was capable of recognizing. How would their love end? This is why Tondelli's novel, as much as it spoke to its readership in the early 90s, was also proposing a sort of relationship that the gay community might have regarded as highly unusual. For though there is no doubting their love and desire for each other, Leo and Thomas didn't live together. And Tondelli not only resists established norms for gay couples, but goes further yet to make light of normalized gay couples. Would they have no option but to normalize a relationship that society was in fact incapable of accepting as something normal? Would they not turn into the mirror image of those grotesque homosexual couples where one does all the cooking and the other always goes to the market to do the shopping? Where the two lovers resemble each other in their attitudes, in their way of doing things, even in their facial expressions, to the point where they become two pathetic replicas of one and the same unbearable, imaginary male, emasculated and effeminate? In the course of time, would they not become two hysterical androids, forever on the point of butting in every time the other spoke, with that facial skin that is a bit too smooth and taut and tanned, and that hair that is a bit too perfect the way it hides thinning spots? What Leo wants is entirely different. He wants intimacy, both physical and emotional, but he needs space. Can the world adjust to this? Can Thomas? Can Leo even? One day, Thomas announces he is seeing a woman called Suzanne.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?